No one noticed him at first. That was the strange part. People hike the Ridgewood Trail every day. Families, solo travelers, photographers chasing sunrise shots. A man walking silently through the forest shouldn't have stood out. And yet, later, when people tried to remember when they first saw him, no one could agree. Some said he'd always been there. Others said he appeared suddenly, like the forest had grown him overnight. The first report came from a park volunteer named Aaron Bell, a college student doing weekend trail maintenance. Aaron was clearing fallen branches near mile marker 7 when he saw a man ahead on the path, tall, thin, dressed in gray hiking clothes that looked old but not torn. A hood pulled low over his face. Aaron called out a greeting. The man didn't respond. That wasn't unusual. Some hikers preferred solitude. But as Aaron watched, something felt wrong. The man wasn't walking at least, not the way people walk. His feet moved forward in a slow, steady rhythm, but they never quite touched the dirt. They hovered, just an inch above the trail, gliding forward as if pulled by an invisible current. Aaron blinked hard, looked away, looked back. The man was gone. Aaron told himself it was exhaustion. Bad lighting. A trick of shadows. He didn't report it. That night, Aaron dreamed of footsteps he couldn't hear. The first disappearance 2 weeks later, a seasoned hiker named Linda McCrae failed to return from a solo afternoon trek. Linda was careful, experienced. She left notes, checked weather. Her GPS tracker stopped abruptly near mile marker 9, an area locals called the Quiet Stretch. Search and rescue teams combed the area for days. They found her backpack neatly placed beside the trail. Her boots were inside it, clean, untouched, laces still tied. There were no footprints leading away from the spot, no signs of struggle, no explanation for why an experienced hiker would remove her boots and abandon them in the middle of a forest. Aaron attended the volunteer briefing about the disappearance. When the ranger mentioned mile marker 9, a cold feeling crept into his chest. That was close to where he had seen the silent man. He didn't say anything. Neither did anyone else. Stories began to spread. Whispers travel fast in small hiking communities. Soon, more people began mentioning odd encounters, quietly at first, as if afraid the forest might be listening. A couple reported seeing a man walking beside them for nearly a mile without making a sound. A photographer claimed her camera malfunctioned every time she tried to photograph a tall figure standing between the trees. A trail runner said he followed someone ahead of him, matching his pace perfectly, only to realize the figure never disturbed leaves, mud, or snow. No footprints, no broken twigs. Just movement without contact. Someone jokingly called him the silent hiker. The joke didn't last. The ground remembers Ranger Thomas Hale had worked Ridgewood Park for over 20 years. He didn't believe in ghost stories. Forests were dangerous enough without inventing monsters. But even he couldn't explain what he found during a routine patrol. Near mile marker 9, the soil had changed. It wasn't disturbed. No digging, no tracks, but it looked flattened, compressed, as if something heavy had passed through without pressing down. As if the ground remembered weight that never truly touched it. Thomas knelt and pressed his palm into the dirt. It was cold, unnaturally cold. That night, he reviewed old park records, archived incident reports, handwritten ranger logs dating back decades. That's when he noticed a pattern. Disappearances. Always hikers. Always alone. Always near the same stretch of trail. The earliest report dated back to 1946. The description was eerily familiar. Witness reports a tall male figure moving without sound. Subject appears not to disturb terrain. Vanished when approached. The name used back then wasn't silent hiker. They called him the floating man. The rules of the trail over time, unspoken rules emerged among locals. Don't hike alone past mile marker 7. That if you hear footsteps that don't match your own, stop moving. Never follow someone who doesn't respond when spoken to. And most importantly, if you see a hiker whose feet don't touch the ground, do not run. Do not approach. Do not acknowledge him. No one knew where the rules came from. Only that those who followed them lived. Those who didn't vanished. Aaron's second encounter. Aaron tried to quit volunteering. He told himself he was busy with classes, but the truth was simpler. The forest felt different now. Watching. Waiting. On his last day, he volunteered to close a trail section before sunset. A mistake. The forest grew unnaturally quiet as dusk fell. No birds. No wind. Just silence thick enough to feel. Then he heard it. Footsteps. Slow, measured, behind him. Aaron froze. The footsteps continued. Stopping when he stopped, he turned slowly. The man stood less than 10 feet away. Up close, the silent hiker looked wrong. His clothes were faded, like colors leached by time. His hood obscured his face, but Aaron could see pale skin beneath, smooth, almost featureless, and his feet, hovering, perfectly still. Aaron remembered the rules. He didn't speak, didn't run, didn't breathe. The man tilted his head, as if listening to something far away. Then, impossibly, he drifted past Aaron, close enough that the air turned icy, and continued down the trail. Aaron collapsed to the ground, shaking. For the first time, he noticed something horrifying. Where the silent hiker had passed, the forest floor was darker, not crushed, not marked, just emptier. What the forest took. Aaron never returned to the trail, but he couldn't forget what he'd seen. He began researching obsessively. Old newspapers, town records, even folklore. One legend appeared again and again, told differently each time. A hiker who died alone in the forest. A man lost so completely that even the earth rejected him. A soul condemned to walk forever, never allowed to rest, never allowed to touch the ground. Some versions claimed he was punished. Others said he volunteered. One detail remained constant. He was never alone. He was always following someone. The final search years later, another disappearance triggered the largest search operation in Ridgewood history. Drones, thermal imaging, hundreds of volunteers. Nothing. Then, on the third night, a search team radioed in something strange. They'd found a line in the forest, not a path, not a trail. A straight, narrow corridor where vegetation had withered, as if something had passed through repeatedly without touching anything. At the end of the corridor stood a single pair of boots, empty, facing the trail. The search was called off the next morning. The park quietly closed. Mile marker 9. Officially, for environmental restoration. Unofficially, everyone knew why. The truth no one says out loud. The silent hiker doesn't kill. He doesn't attack. He doesn't chase. He leads. Those who follow him, out of curiosity, loneliness, or fear, are guided somewhere the forest refuses to remember. At a place where the ground no longer exists, where footsteps are unnecessary, where silence becomes permanent. Epilogue. If you ever see him, if you hike long enough, deep enough, quiet enough, you might see a man ahead of you on the trail, walking calmly, soundlessly. If his feet don't touch the ground, remember this. He is not lost. He is not warning you. And he is not alone. He is waiting for someone to walk beside him forever.